Great leaders understand this, and also true visionaries, but most other people struggle with it. Driven Mofos, welcome back to another episode of The Underestimated Entrepreneur. All right, let's get talking today about something that's really, really cool. I learned this from my good friend, Dr. John D. Martini. He's a colleague of mine, really smart dude. Anyway, we were just chatting one day. We were actually having dinner. We were eating sushi in Melbourne. I was introducing him at one of his events. And we were talking about how the average person thinks compared to how the great thinkers think. And we're deep in this conversation, this intellectual conversation. And something that he said really struck me. Like it really made sense. And that is that geniuses live in a world of transformation, whereas everybody else lives in a world of good and bad, right and wrong, start and finish. And if you think about this, this catches most people out. Like someone will say, this thing is bad. But what does bad mean? Like, what does it actually mean? Jordan Peterson does this really, really well as well, where he digs into like, what things mean? How do you interpret things? Why do you interpret in that way? And he asks a lot of really great questions of himself, but also others as well. So what does good and bad mean? Now, most people will just say something superficial, right? Like they'll go, oh, well, good is good. Well, that's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard. It's like car is car. That's the answer for dumb people. But let's not be dumb. I know that you're not dumb, which is why you're listening to this podcast. I know that you want to be better. I know that you're a leader and want to improve. And in fact, this is one of the most powerful things that you can learn as a leader. So what does good mean? What does bad mean? How do you define what good and bad is? Someone can say, well, that person's a bad person. But what does a bad person mean? Like, let me go back through and let me summarize this in a few different ways, or let me give you some different examples. So I was in a relationship when I was younger. When I broke up from that relationship, or actually when they broke up with me, I thought that that was such a bad thing in my life. Now, when I look back, it was such a great thing because it taught me a lot about myself. It taught me a lot about the relationship. It taught me how I showed up in that relationship. It taught me about where my gaps were. It taught me about how I thought through what a relationship was. Back when I was younger, I was a lot more needy. I felt like I needed to be in a relationship. Whereas it taught me a lot about myself. So in the moment, it may have felt bad, but now looking back, it was a good thing. So therefore, was it good or bad? How do we label it? Okay, we got to define this. Now, also in the world, we live in this world of start and stops. Now, where does this catch out most people? Well, I was talking to a business owner today and they've got a scaling business and they were saying, I'm just stuck doing a lot of work in the business. And he was talking about these to-do lists that he had. And he's like, I just got so much shit to do. And I said, when you get through that stuff, what does that mean? And he's like, oh, well, it's a relief. And I said, it's a relief because you feel like you've finished stuff, correct? And he said, well, yeah, it's sort of like, I write these things down. It gives me direction. It gives me guidance. And when I get everything done, then I feel great about myself. The problem with that is it's such an unintelligent way of thinking. It's how most lower level people think. Now, I used to be like it. I had to train myself to think like a high performer, like a high level leader, because it wasn't natural. I wasn't brought up thinking like this. But the truth is that if you run a business, there is no such thing as a start and a stop. You never get anything off of your to-do list. All that happens is you knock something off and something else enters back on that to-do list. So if your emotional state and your self-worth or how you feel about life runs off of a to-do list and you feel great when things get done and you feel bad when things aren't getting done, that's a shitty way of living. Because remember, geniuses live in a world of transformation. So all that's going to happen is you're going to transform one project into another project, into another project. And this is the analogy that I gave to that business owner. I said, look, as a leader, here's the thing that's going to happen. And this is what you need to train and develop your team on. Because if they run off of to-do lists, they think that they're getting things done and they think that that means that it's good. That's a silly way of thinking. The truth is that if you're a small business owner, you're going to put in some systems and some process and some very basic structure or some technology that you might use, like a technology stack or whatever. And then as the company grows, you're going to realize that that technology stack doesn't work anymore. It doesn't serve the purpose that it originally once had. The systems and the processes are all going to be broken and they're not going to work anymore. And then now you're going to have to train and develop your team to think differently. So everything that once worked stops working. So if you have a world of start and stop, you go, well, it's good because we've got this technology stack and we've got systems. And now that those systems and the processes are there, well, now the team should work more effectively. No, they won't. What will happen is they will work more effectively to an extent. But then what happens is it creates a whole bunch of new problems in the company. So then let's say you sell more. Well, now you have to deliver more. So now you've got to go and then work on the delivery stack. You've got to get different technology from how you deliver your product and service or whatever it is that you've got. You then have to have different trainings and different developments and different processes around the delivery. Then when you deliver it, there are going to be problems with that, right? You have customer service problems. So then you've got to develop a customer service training team. Then you've got to get a technology stack for them. Everything is just transforming. A problem is just getting kicked down the field. And that's it. That's what we do is every day we wake up and we kick the ball towards the goal. And the goal should be your vision, your mission, or it should be your goals, your short-term goals, like 90-day goals or 1-year goals. And providing we're kicking everything in that direction, we're winning. But on a day-to-day basis, problems are just going to transform themselves. They're just going to go from one place to another place to another place to another place. So getting rid of problems is a really shitty way of thinking, because people who think that they're going to get rid of problems in their business or even in their life normally are super frustrated, they're stressed out, and they're burnt out. Because everything will go well for a very short period of time, and then a problem pops up and they go, oh, fucking hell, how come this? And then they get all like spazzed out a little bit. And then they go, oh, we got to fix this. And then there's all this stress and the pressure in the team and in the company. And then everything goes well for a little bit. Then the next second a problem pops up, and then they go all crazy again. And so most business owners, especially smaller business owners or smaller scaling business owners, are always stressed out, burnt out, and frustrated because instead of realizing that all they're doing is they're transforming problems from one day to the next, from 1 month to the next, and that those problems are going to scale over time. They're going to get bigger. Your cash flow problems as a small business are small in comparative to that of a large business. But large businesses have cash flow problems, medium-sized businesses have cash flow problems, and small businesses have cash flow problems. Small businesses have staffing problems, medium-sized businesses have staffing problems, and large businesses have staffing problems. Small businesses have marketing problems, medium-sized businesses have marketing problems, and large organizations have marketing problems because they are just growing and scaling. Problems just grow and scale. So remember, we live in a world of transformation. If you don't see the transformation that's happening within your organization and see the transformation is a consistent evolution or a progression, then you're just going to see problems equals bad. Finishing things equals good. When things are finished, I feel good about life. When things aren't finished, I feel bad and I'm stressed out and I get worried and I get annoyed, and then that triggers me emotionally, and then I feel bad about life or I feel bad about business. Really stupid, shitty way of living. Parents who think that if their kids are happy, then that gives them some form of validation as a parent. And so then they try to nurture them and babysit them. That creates a whole bunch of problems. We want our children, or you want your children to transform. We want them to transform into greater adults or greater levels of thinkers or greater levels of human beings. So if we focus on the transformation versus the day-to-day problems that a growing child's going to bring up, whether that's a small child, whether it's I guess you could say an intermediate child, or, getting into the teenage years, then the teenager, then into the young adult, then into the adult. There's always going to be challenges at different levels. I watched my grandmother, right? My grandmother is an absolute legend. Now for her, I can't imagine what it's like having 3 generations that, she's seen grow up. So she had her own kids. Those kids went through all their stages. And now even as adults, they still rely upon her because they're, some of them have gone through divorces, so they have their emotional shit. She's never dealt with a divorce before, but she's had to deal with divorces of her kids. Not all of them. There was 2 have divorced, 2 haven't. And then now she's got grandkids. Those grandkids, she's also had to see the evolution of them growing up from, toddlers to grown adults. Now those grown adults, some of them have had divorces, some of them have had problems with their children, all of that sort of stuff. And so she's had to see that evolution. Now the cool thing is that she lives a life of evolution because when she's been in one generation and she's been emotionally evolved, she realizes that it's just a transformation that happens. And so it's not that big a deal. So now with her grandkids, she's completely calm and relaxed. And if you see any grandparent, they're a lot more relaxed around their grandkids. Why? Because they realize that the child just grows and evolves. It has different problems, different challenges, different things pop up in its own life, and you just keep working through it and they just keep moving forward. That's it. Whereas for a lot of first-time parents, they try to do everything right, but then that means that they make a lot of mistakes. And then when they make a lot of mistakes, they feel like they get things wrong. And then that taxes them mentally and emotionally. That's what can happen in business as well. That's what happens with people in life as well. When you're attached to these ideas that things start and finish, things are good and bad, things are right and wrong. You know, even a business owner I was talking to today, he said, I just want to get things right. And I said, things will never be right. They'll be right for a period of time until they're not right. Don't get attached to things being right. That's what average people do. Average people ask the question, you know, am I doing this right? Doesn't matter. Just morph things forward. Just keep kicking that ball forward. Is it better than what it was yesterday? If so, great. You've done a good job. Now kick it forward again tomorrow. Keep doing that. What you'll find, life becomes so much easier. It's so much more enjoyable. You enjoy playing the game of growth in life. You enjoy growing your finances because you know what? There's always shit that happens financially. Every fucking day I get something that I wasn't expecting. Then I have times where everything goes great. Like things just seem to work out. We had a low sales month in September. Really, really shitty month for sales. Didn't really bother me because I knew that they'll pick back up. Then we had a couple of weeks where I was working really, really hard and no sales came through. And I was like, well, I mean, they did, but not a great amount of sales. Then all of a sudden, boom, off we go again. And now we're going. What happened? Could have been the economy. Could have been media. I don't know, right? It's just that things seem to happen in cycles. So I don't get attached to the outcome because I know that they're just part of a cycle. All I know is that if I keep kicking the ball forward, everything will work out. Now, if you're a business owner and you're a leader of a team or a company or even a manager, if you're any of those things, if you see the transformation that's happening in the evolution of things in the business or in life, your life will be just so much more enjoyable because you'll realize that everything is moving forward in the right direction. And that's the only thing that matters. Getting everything right doesn't matter. Not making mistakes doesn't matter. You know, having everything working well will only be for a very short period of time. So please do not get emotionally attached to getting everything done, to getting everything right, to things being good, to labeling things as bad, to labeling things as right and wrong, because you can do the right thing at the wrong time and you'll still pay for that wrong time, right? If you go and invest, let's say you were investing in the housing market in America in 2008, and then the global financial crisis happened. Well, you did the right thing. You invested money. Is investing money a good idea? Yes. Did you invest it at the right time? No. Therefore, you did the right thing at the wrong time and you got punished for it. It is what it is. Can you do the wrong thing at the right time? Yes. Some people gamble in certain markets. Like when a market is rapidly growing, let's say like cryptocurrency or let's say like foreign exchange, options trading, things that are a lot more risky. If you go to the casino and throw cash into whatever it is and you win money, you did probably the wrong thing at the right time and you won. So sometimes you can be doing the wrong thing and it seems like you're doing the right thing. Sometimes you can do the right thing and it seems like you're doing the wrong thing. Again, as long as you're progressing, as long as you're kicking the ball forward, as long as you're working towards your vision, your mission, improvements in life, I guarantee you'll be a better person for it in the long run. That's the difference between genius. That's the difference between leaders. Just keep kicking the ball forward and don't get attached to outcomes and labeling them as good and bad and right and wrong because everything is just transformation. Driven mofos, keep kicking ass, keep winning in life. I look forward to you joining me on the next episode. Keep winning. Most people waste their life, and I just don't want you to be one of them.